Harihi Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Mahaperiyava Sharanam. Shri Soundarya Lahari, exploration of verse 66. Vipanchya gayanti vividha mapadanam pashupatehe tvaya rabdhe vaktum chalita shirasa sadhu vachane tadiyair madhuryaihi apalapita tantri kalaravam nijam veenam vani nichulayati cholena nibhritam. Verse 61 describes the bamboo-like nose of Ambikai and the nose ring that adorns Ambikai's nose. Verse 62 describes the beauty and the brightness of Ambikai's lips, and indeed there is nothing which is equivalent or comparable to her beautiful lips. Verse 63 describes the smile on Ambikai's moon-like face. After describing Ambikai's row of teeth, her lips, verse 64 describes Ambikai's tongue. Indeed, because of the color of your tongue. Verse 65 describes how Ambikai is chewing on betel leaves and nut, and how the chewed leaves are offered as prasada. Verse 66 describes the sweet voice of Ambikai. Let us look at the Padacheda and then detailed explanation. Vipanchya gayanti vividham apadanam pashupatehe tvaya arabdhe vaktum chalita shirasa sadhu vachane tadiyaihi madhuryaihi apalapita tantri kalaravam nijam veenam vani nichulayati cholena nibhritam. Vipanchya gayanti vividham apadanam pashupatehe. Vipanchya, Vipanchya with the string instrument veena, gayanti singing, vividham apadanam the varied noble work or the varied leelas of Pashupatehe of Pashupati, Lord Shiva, tvaya arabdhe vaktum chalita shirasa sadhu vachane. Ambikai, hearing about the great deeds of Pashupati, of Lord Shiva, her consort, she gets thrilled and she starts speaking in praise and nodding in agreement and appreciation. Tvaya arabdhe, when you began, vaktum, to speak, chalita shirasa, with the nodding of the head in agreement and appreciation, sadhu vachane, the sweet words of appreciation. When Saraswati was singing with her veena, great deeds, the varied great deeds, leelas of Pashupati, and when Ambikai began to speak the words of appreciation by nodding her head, what happened next? Tadiyaihi madhuryaihi apalapita tantri kalaravam. Tadiyaihi madhuryaihi, the sweetness of those words, apalapita, detracted, tantri kalaravam, the low sweet tones of the strings of veena. Hearing the sweetness of Ambikai's voice when she just began to speak in appreciation of Goddess Saraswati, as she praises Lord Shiva, what happens is that the strings of her veena suddenly get detracted. They feel embarrassed. The veena strings have this thought of pride that they produce the sweetest music in the entire universe. So they carry some sort of pride in their head. After hearing Ambikai, when Ambikai just begins to speak, they understand that the sweet tone of them is no way comparable to the sweetness of Ambikai's sweetest words. Therefore, they feel embarrassed. Nijam Veenam Vani Nichulayati Cholena Nibhritam. Saraswati Devi, realizing the emotion of the strings of her veena, what does she do? She covers the strings with a wrapper so that they go out of sight. When Saraswati was singing with her veena, the greatest, loftiest Leela or the deeds of Pashupati, the consort of Ambigai, she began to speak the words of appreciation along with the nodding of her head. However, on hearing the sweetest words of Ambigai, the low sweet tones of the strings of Saraswati's veena became embarrassed and detracted. Therefore, Saraswati covered the strings out of sight with the wrapper. O mother, when you start nodding your head, uttering sweetly, yes, yes, agree, agree, of course, to Goddess Saraswati when she sings the great stories to you about Pashupati, the Sarveshwara of the universe, with the accompaniment of her veena, she mutes the veena with a covering cloth so that the strings throwing the sweetest music are not put to shame by your voice, which is full of sweetness. Bhagavati, as Devi Saraswati is commending Parameshwara's magnificent acts of glory by her veena's mellifluous melodies, you are wholly immersed in the musical notes by shaking your head sideways with trances. The smooth yet sharp wires of veena instrument turn self-conscious by shyness as a resultant of your grandeur. Eventually, the veena gets dumbfounded and confused. That is why Devi Saraswati wrapped up the veena with a cover cloth and concluded, whenever a veena player is defeated by a contester or a critic's nasty criticism, then wraps up the veena with a cloth cover and concludes the musical session. Mahaswami of Kanchi describes the greatest character of a dramatic scene which is enacted before the court of Ambigai. Ambigai listens to the musical recital and finds delight in it. Listening to Saraswati's musical concert, Ambigai, being a flagship of tranquility, is wholly engaged in Saraswati's Veena concert and the heroics of Parameshwara, as translated by Saraswati's musical dexterity and the vibrations evoking the rushes of her emotions, as evoked by the song and the musical nuances. Nija Sallapa Madhurya Vinirbhatsita Kachapi. It is this idea contained in Lalita Sahasranama that Acharya develops into a poetic dramaturgy. The word Kachapi is Saraswati's veena, the tortoise-like musical instrument. Each celestials have their own instruments. For example, Narada's musical instrument, Mahati, Tumburu's veena, Kalavati, and so on. Saraswati Devi sings the song containing the various types of stories of sublime character of Pashupati and accounts to it by playing the veena. Ambigai shakes her head in appreciation of the performance in Sadhu Vachanam, such as Bhale Bhale, Sabash. The third line in the stanza means Saraswati, having observed that the melodious strains of the veena were disgraced by the sweetness of the words of what Ambigai had just begun to speak, both Saraswati and her veena were silenced. She stopped singing and held her head down in shame. Her own veena was covered and concealed. Indeed, isn't this a sign of both Saraswati and Ambigai of their magnanimity? Vipancha gayanti vividham apadanam pashupatehe. Singing with her veena the varied noble work of Pashupati. Who was singing? Goddess Saraswati. Tvaya arabdhe vaktum chalita shirasa sadhu vachane. When you began to speak with the nodding of the head, the words of appreciation, tadiyaihi madhuryaihi apalapita tantri kalaravam. By the sweetness of those words, the low sweet tones of the strings detracted. Nijam Veenam Vani Nichulayati Cholena Nibhritam. Looking at this, Saraswati covered with a wrapper her own veena so that it goes out of sight. The corresponding namas from Lalita Sahasranamam. Nija Sallapa Madhurya Vinir Bhartsita Kachapi. She whose speech shames the sweetness of Saraswati's veena. Kavya Lapa Vimodini. She who is fond of listening to poetry. Gana Lolupa. She who is delighted in music. Samagana Priya. She who is fond of Samagana. This shloka can be chanted to obtain sweetness of words and mastery in music. The shloka can also be chanted to cure all kinds of diseases. Thus concludes the explanation of verse 66 of Sri Soundarya Lahari. Sarvam Krishnarpanamastu. Harihi Om Tatsat. Mahaperiyava Sharanam. Jai Jai Shankara. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Mahaperiyava Sharanam. Sri Soundarya Lahari. Explanation of verse 67. Karagrena Sprishtam Tuhina Girina Vatsalataya Girishenodastam Muhuradhara Pana Kulataya Karagrahyam Shambhoho Mukha Mukura Vrintam Girisute Kathankaram Bhrumaha Tava Chubuka Maupamya Rahitam. Verse 66 describes the sweet voice of Ambigai. O mother, when you start nodding your head with your sweet voice, just a couple of words to Goddess Saraswati, when she sings the great stories of Pashupati to you with her accompaniment Veena, she mutes the Veena by a covering cloth so that the strings throwing the sweetest music are not put to shame by your voice, which is filled with sweetness. Verse 67 describes the matchless beauty of Ambigai's chin. Let us look at the Padacheda and then detailed explanation. Karagrena Sprishtam Tuhina Girina Vatsalataya Girishena Udastam Muhuhu Adhara Pana Akulataya Kara Grahyam Shambhoho Mukha Mukura Vrintam Giri Sute Kathankaram Bhrumaha Tava Chubukam Aupamya Rahitam. Karagrena Sprishtam Tuhina Girina Vatsalataya. Karagrena, by the tips of the hand. Sprishtam, touched. Tuhina Girina, by the snowy mountain Himavan, Parvati's father. With what emotion? Vatsalataya, with paternal affection, fatherly affection. Ambigai's chin was touched by the tips of Himavan's hand, and the emotion that he displayed was fatherly affection. After Ambigai got married to Sarveshwara, Girishena Udastam Muhuhu Adharapana Akulataya. Girishena, by Girisha, Lord Shiva. Udastam, it was raised. The same chin was raised. Muhuhu, repeatedly. For what reason? Adharapana Akulataya, with the intent of kissing Ambigai. As a young girl, as the daughter of Himavan, Ambigai's chin was touched by the tips of the hand by Himavan with fatherly affection. After marriage, it was repeatedly raised by Girisha with the intent of kissing Ambigai. Kara Grahyam Shambhoho Mukha Mukura Vrintam Girisute. Girisute, O the daughter of mountain, Ambigai Shakti, Karagrahyam, worthy to be held by hand, Shambhoho, only by the hands of Shambhu, Lord Shiva, Mukha Mukura Vrintam, the handle for the mirror of your face. Ambigai's face, which is spotless, bright and beautiful, has a matchless chin which is like that of a handle for a mirror. Kathankaram brumaha tava chubukam aupamya rahitam. Kathankaram brumaha. In what manner can we speak or describe tava, your chubukam, chin, that chin, aupamya rahitam, which is beyond comparison. O the daughter of Himavan, in what manner will we speak of your chin or describe your chin, which was touched by the tips of the hand by Himavan with fatherly affection? And after marriage, it was repeatedly raised by Lord Shiva, Girisha, with the intent of kissing you. That chin, which is worthy of being held by the hand of Shambhu alone, which is like the handle for the mirror of your face and which is beyond comparison. Ambigai's chin is uniquely shaped and is above depiction. The Mangala Sutra, Mangalyam, tied by Kameshwara around her neck, symbolizes the close affinity and the inseparability of Prakriti and Mahapurusha, just as Ambigai's father fondled Ambigai's thin chin, the beautiful, matchless, beautiful chin, when she was a baby girl. However, after the wedding with Parameshwara, it was handled by Parameshwara, both her chin and cheeks, with love and affection, and it was lifted by Parameshwara with the intent of kissing, while Ambigai bowed her head with extreme shyness. Shiva, being Adhara Panatura, or greatly excited to drink the sweet juice of Ambigai's lifted her face, and also his hands hastened to play with Swacha Mukha Mukura, the spotless bright cheeks, as though it is his toy for his play. The beautiful relationship, the unique relationship between Ambigai and Parameshwara is described in this verse. Among all the couples in the universe, the Divya Dampati, Parvati and Parameshwara, exhibit a unique relationship, a relationship which is close in terms of affection, affinity and inseparability. Hence, Adi Shankara Bhagavad Padal brings out the fact that as a husband, Parameshwara would hold Ambigai's chin to lift her and to do the Adhara Panam. And when he tries to describe that chin which is held by Parameshwara, he says, "O mother, your chin is beyond comparison. I am not even going to attempt comparing your chin with something. O the daughter of the mountain, how can we describe the beauty of your chin, which was affectionately caressed by the tip of your father Himavan's fingers, which was often lifted by Girisha, Shiva, which was so fit to be touched only by his fingers. Your chin, which is the handle of the mirror of your face, is beyond comparison. Karagrena sprishtam tuhina girina vatsalataya, touched by the tips of the hand by Himavan, your father, with fatherly affection. Girishena udastam muhuhu adharapana akulataya, by Girisha, it was raised repeatedly with the intent of kissing. Kara grahyam shambhoho mukha mukura vrintam girisute, O the daughter of snowy mountain Shakti, worthy of being held by the hand of Shambhu, Lord Shiva alone. The chin, which is the handle for the mirror of your face. Kathankaram brumaha tava chubukam aupamya rahitam. In what manner will we speak of your chin, which is beyond comparison? The corresponding namas from Lalita Sahasranamam. Anakalita sadrishya chibukashri virajita. She who has a chin which is of matchless beauty. This shloka can be chanted for victory in all tasks undertaken. Thus concludes the explanation of verse 67 of Sri Soundarya Lahari. Sarvam Krishnarpanamastu. Harihi Om Tatsat. Mahaperiyava Sharanam. Jai Jai Shankara. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Mahaperiyava Sharanam. Sri Soundarya Lahari, explanation of verse 68. Bhuja Shleshan Nityam Puradamaituh Kantakavati Tava Griva Dhatte Mukha Kamala Nala Shriyamiyam. स्वतश्वेता कालागरु बहुलजम्बालमलिना मृणालीलालित्यं वहति यदधो हारलतिका. Verse 68 describes Ambikai's neck. Let us look at the Padacheda and then detailed explanation. Bhuja ashleshat nityam puradamaituhu kantakavati tava griva dhatte mukha kamala nala shriyam iyam swatah shweta काल अगरु बहुल जम्बाल मलिना मृणाली लालित्यं वहति यत् अधः हार लतिका. भुज आश्लेषात् नित्यं पुरदमयितुः कंटकवती. Bhuj, arms, ashleshat, the embrace of the arms, nityam, always, puradamaituhu, the destroyer, subduer of the 3 cities, Lord Shiva, kantakavati, with horripilation, goosebumps, tava griva dhatte mukha kamala nala shriyam, tava griva, your neck, throat, dhatte, bears, mukha kamala, the lotus face, nala shriyam, your neck resembles a beautiful stalk of lotus or stem of lotus that bears or carries the beautiful bloomed lotus. Iyam, this throat of yours. Swataha shweta kala agaru bahula jambala malina. Swataha, innately, shweta, white in color, kala agaru bahula, bahula kala agaru, copious amount of lots of lofty, extremely fragrant black sandal. Ambigai has applied that kind of sandal on her neck. Jambala malina. Now, because of the black color, the neck somewhat resembles soiled mud. Mrinali lalityam vahati yat adhaha hara latika. Mrinali, the root of the lotus, lalityam, carries extreme loveliness. Vahati, it supports, it bears. Yat adhaha, below which, hara latika, a necklace which is made of white pearls. Ambike, this throat of yours, which is with the horripilation, always due to Shiva's embrace, bears the beauty of the stalk that carries your lotus face, below which the necklace of pearls, innately white in color, is soiled by copious mud of black sandal, and these carry the loveliness of the root of lotus. Thus concludes the explanation of verse 68 of Sri Soundarya Lahari. Sarvam Krishnarpanamastu. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Mahaperiyava Sharanam. Jai Jai Shankara. Hara Hara Shankara. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Mahaperiyava Sharanam. Sri Soundarya Lahari. Explanation of verse 69. Gale rekhas tisraha gati gamaka geetaika nipune विवाह व्यानद्ध प्रगुण गुण संख्या प्रतिभुवः विराजन्ते नानाविध मधुर रागाकरभुवां त्रयाणां ग्रामाणां स्थिति नियम सीमान इव ते. Verse 69 describes the 3 lines in Ambikai's neck and their relationship to music. Let us look at the Padacheda and then a short explanation. Gale rekhaha tisraha gati gamaka geeta eka nipune vivaha vyanadha praguna guna sankhya prati bhuvaha virajante nana vidha madhura raga akara bhuvam त्रयाणां ग्रामाणां स्थिति नियम सीमान इव ते गले रेखाः तिस्रः गति गमक गीत एक निपुणे गले in the neck rekhaha tisraha tisraha is 3 rekhaha lines gati the musical modes gamaka the musical modulations geeta music songs eka nipune she is the sole expert Ambigai who is the sole expert of musical modes musical modulations and music itself songs vivaha vyanadha praguna guna sankhya pratibhuvaha vivaha vyanadha tied well at the time of her wedding praguna guna sankhya the same number as the stranded thread pratibhuvaha it is a reminder the 3 lines in Ambigai's neck are like a reminder of the number of stranded threads which were tied well at the time of her wedding with Parameshwara. Virajante nanavidha madhura raga akara bhuvam. Virajante they shine nanavidha in many varieties madhura raga in sweet musical modes. Virajante, they shine nana vidha in many varieties. Madhura raga, the sweet musical modes. Akara, the forms of bhuvam, which are produced from. From these 3 lines, the forms of many varieties of sweet musical modes, the ragas, are produced and they shine. Trayanam, gramanam, sthiti niyama seemana iva te trayanam the 3 gramanam scales of music shadjam madhyamam gandharam sthiti niyama these are fixed and thus are restricted seemana means boundary iva they seem like a boundary to summarize the entire meaning O the sole expert of musical modes, musical modulations and music songs, the 3 lines in your neck which are like a reminder to the number of stranded thread which were tied at your wedding by Parameshwara, they also are like a boundary restricting the fixity of 3 scales of music, Shadjam, Madhyamam, Gandharam, from which the forms of many varieties of sweet musical modes, ragas, are produced and they shine. Thus concludes the explanation of verse 69 of Sri Soundarya Lahari. Sarvam Krishnarpanamastu. Harihi Om Tatsat. Mahaperiyava Sharanam. Jai Jai Shankara. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Mahaperiyava Sharanam. Shri Soundarya Lahari. Explanation of verse 70. मृणाली मृद्वीनां तव भुजलतानां चतसृणां चतुर्भिः सौन्दर्यं सरसिजभवस्तौति वदनैः नखेभ्यः सन्त्रस्यन् प्रथममथनादन् धकरिपोः चतुर्णां शीर्षाणां सममभयहस्तार्पणधिया. Verse 66 describes the sweet, beautiful voice of Ambigai. Verse 67 beautifully describes Ambigai's chin. 68 is the description of Ambigai's neck and how the neck is like a lotus stalk that holds the lotus-like face of Ambigai. Verse 69 describes the 3 lines in Ambigai's neck and their relationship to music. Verse 70 describes Ambigai's 4 hands and how Brahmadeva constantly praises and sings about Ambigai's 4 hands. Let us look at the Padacheda and then detailed explanation. Mrinali mridvinam Tava bhuja latanam chata srinam chaturbihi Soundaryam Sarasija Bhavaha Stauti Vadanaihi Nakhebhyaha Santrasyan Prathama Mathanat Andhaka Ripoho Chaturnam Shirshanam Samam Abhaya Hasta Aparna Dhiya Mrinali Mridvinam Tava Bhujalatanam Chatasrinam. Mrinali, the lotus stalk. Mridvinam, which is extremely soft. Tava Bhujalatanam, your creeper-like hands, the four hands. Chatasrinam, the four hands. Chaturbhihi Soundaryam Sarasija Bhavaha Stauti Vadanaihi. Sarasija Bhavaha, the lotus born, Lord Brahma. Chaturbhihi Vadanaihi, with his four faces. Soundaryam Stauti, he praises the beauty of those four hands. Why does Lord Brahma have to praise Ambikai's four hands? Nakhebhyaha Santrasyan Prathama Mathanat Andhaka Ripoho. Andhaka Ripoho, the enemy of Andhakasura, Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva who killed, destroyed Andhakasura. Nakhebhyaha Prathama Mathanat. The first head of Lord Brahma got destructed by the nails of Lord Shiva. Hence, Santrasyan, Brahma constantly experiences some kind of fear. Therefore, Chaturnam Shirshanam Samam Abhaya Hasta Aparna Dhiya. Chaturnam Shirshanam, the remaining four heads, Samam, simultaneously, Abhaya Hasta Aparna Dhiya. He places his mind constantly on these four hands in order to seek refuge from the fear that he experiences. Brahma praises the beauty of Ambikai's four creeper-like golden colored hands, which are as soft as the lotus stalk, with his remaining four faces being afraid of the nails of Lord Shiva, who destroyed Andhakasura, the enemy of Andhakasura. From the destruction of his first head by Lord Shiva, his mind simultaneously places itself on Ambikai's four hands. Hence, with the remaining four heads, he constantly praises the beauty of the hands that offer refuge to all the bhaktas from fear. Brahma, the god born out of lotus, being afraid of the nails of Shiva, who killed the asura called Andhakasura, Lord Shiva clipped one of Brahmadeva's heads. Hence, Brahma constantly praises with his four faces Ambikai's pretty tender hands that resemble the lotus flower stalk. And why does he do so? So that he can ask for protection of his remaining four heads, because Ambikai's hands are filled with mercy. Hence, simultaneously, he constantly praises Ambikai's beautiful hands. Once upon a time, Brahma and Vishnu were quarreling. Brahma claimed that he was the one who created the world. So he has the ultimate power in the universe. Vishnu retorted that you seek validation means you cannot be the ultimate power. Then who is the ultimate power, the ultimate Bhagavan in this world? Brahma demanded to know. As he spoke, a huge column of fire split the earth between them and blazed up through the sky to pierce the highest heavens. Astounded, Brahma and Vishnu decided to determine the source and the extent of this brilliant pillar of light. Vishnu took the form of a wild boar and burrowed deep into the netherworlds, while Brahma mounted on his Vahana swan and flew up as far as possible to reach almost the heavens. But even after a long time, they could not find the bottom or the top of the shaft of the light. Vishnu accepted his defeat and surrendered to Shiva, who was indeed that linga of light. On the other hand, Brahma couldn't accept his defeat. He told the Ketaki flower Tharambu to vouch that he indeed was able to reach the top of the light. The creator of the universe himself uttered such an unfathomable lie. Hence, Shiva cursed him, saying that there would be no temples where his worship is being undertaken in full form. He also plucked away with his nails the fifth head of Brahmadeva. Ambigai's hands sparkle with the lustre of thousands of suns, and they are adorned with golden angadas or armlets and keyuras, the ringlets, as alluded to the mantras of these descriptions. The four arms of Ambigai represent Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. The lotus-like tender exquisiteness of Ambigai's hands is extolled by Chaturmukha Brahma, seeking her protection and solace. This is so keeping in view that Paramashiva, the Andakasura Shatru, had in past snipped off his fifth head owing to his annoyance with him with his sharp nails, and hence Brahmadeva's supplication to her, seeking her merciful attitude, which is her very nature, as the unparalleled Abhaya Hasta. Mrinali Mridvinam Tava Bhujalatanam Chatasrinam. Ambigai's four hands, which are golden colored and as soft as the lotus stalk. Chaturbihi Soundaryam Sarasija Bhavaha Stauti Vadanaihi. The lotus-born Brahmadeva, with his four faces, constantly praises the beauty of Ambigai's hands. Nakhebhyaha Santrasyan Prathama Mathanat Andhaka Ripoho. The enemy of Andhakasura, Lord Shiva, in the past had destructed, removed, destroyed with his nails one of the heads, the fifth head of Brahmadeva. Hence, being afraid, Chaturnam Shirshanam Samam Abhaya Hasta Aparna Dhiya. Brahmadeva wanted to retain the remaining four heads, hence simultaneously with his mind placed on Ambigai's four hands, he constantly praised them, those hands that offer refuge to all bhaktas from fear. The corresponding namas from Lalita Sahasranamam. Kanakangada Keyura Kamaniya Bhujanvita. Beautiful arms adorned with bracelets like Angada and Keyura. Chaturbahu Samanvita. She who possesses four arms. Bhayapaha. She who drives away all kinds of fear. This shloka can be chanted to ask forgiveness from Lord Shiva for any mistake or sins that has been done. Thus concludes the explanation of verse 70 of Sri Soundarya Lahari. Sarvam Krishnarpanamastu. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Mahaperiyava Sharanam. Jai Jai Shankara. Har Har Shankara.